Welcome back. So I'm thinking this is probably one of the last videos I'm really going to do on migrants until something new happens. Now, because I'm a frontline employee, I had to work with migrants my whole life pretty much. So I was doing a lot of different thinkings about the different migrants I have worked with and try to follow my timeline, right? So the first time I can recall working with a migrant was back around 1999-ish, and it was in Columbus, Ohio. Me and one of my best friends moved down there, and we both got a job at one of the restaurants off of 161 called Chili's. Now, I was approximately 21-ish, 20-ish, 21-ish, and I specifically recall us after work sitting around the table one time drinking a beer after work, and we had this guy that you automatically, when you say hi to him, you can tell he don't speak English. I grew up, we've always had a immigration issue. So I grew up just hearing whatever I heard, but this was like the first time I actually can recall because it was memorable. So we're sitting around this table. I say hi to the guy. Well, whenever we made eye contact and I seen him for the first time that day, and he could say hi back, but having a conversation with him, not gonna happen. I knew it. He probably would have tried, but I ain't got time for all that. I'm at work. I'm getting paid to do my job, is kind of my work thought. Not just stand around and talk about whatever. But we're sitting at this table, drinking beer. He came up, and I was like, yeah, is that what they call an illegal person? Is he one of the illegal ones? And they're like, yeah, Mark, he's an illegal one. I'm like, oh, okay. So then with that, thinking about it, not now, but back then, I'm like, seems like a good worker to me. Because I think the reason why we started talking about it was because some of the servers were talking about how good he is. So that was my first ever experience of, like, this is an illegal one. So years go by, have my son, going to college, moved to South Carolina, was engaged. In 2010, I was living on Hilton Head Island. Now, this was the first time I actually, oh Lord, definitely had to deal with them, which is fine. I don't hate anybody. Treat everybody the same as they genuinely treat me. Most of the time better, I try to. But that island, which was nuts. This is going to be the big portion. When I moved to that island, a buddy of mine owned a painting business. So he ended up getting a contract to paint a couple rooms in a mansion on a plantation. Whatever. His brother died. He had to come to Ohio. So pretty much my first day on the island, he's asking me if I could help watch over his other two people on his crew to go paint this mansion. Rumor had it was that mansion was purchased for $500,000, $500,000, for what was appraising at 150, well, 1.5 mil. Now, the guy who purchased that was a newly elected representative to the state, and he ran on stopping the immigration, or the illegal migrants. He's gonna weed them all out, is what I was told. So, whatever. We go paint this house. So, I got a condo. I had 3 condos within approximately 9 months, actually. But every condo unit that I lived in, 90% of everybody that lived there didn't speak English. Most of them were illegal. And they actually did shit that didn't necessarily bother me. But it definitely bothered some other folks. Anyway, my son was in school, so I'd walk him to the bus stop every day. And what I ended up coming across was a whole bunch of women taking their kids to the bus stop, and they would end up telling me all the things that they have to do. Now, when the first trailer load that I brought to the condo, I roll in, start unloading the trailer, and a bunch of their kids be riding their bikes around. And one of the kids stopped by my truck, and he was like, "Hey, you a cop?" And I chuckled. I'm like, "No, I'm not a cop. I basically got done working corrections. My fiance at the time worked for the U.S. State Department. But no, I'm not a cop." So that probably got around. By then, Eli was in school, going to the bus stops, and these women were telling me the different things that they had to do. Now, I ponder that stuff because I don't like seeing people do things they don't have to do or don't want to do, So then, one of my numerous jobs on that island, I ended up working at a place called Truffles. It was a restaurant. It was in a plantation. Well, one of them. They had 2 different locations on the island. I worked in the plantation. So, this is one of the only places on the island you can get a steak, potato, ribs, kind of like a barbecue. Totally up my alley because I can't work at a seafood restaurant because seafood makes me sick. Let me think. I've had to work with seafood, but when it's all seafood, I never had a job in the restaurant business with all seafood. And I won't, because seafood makes me sick. Anyway, like that smell. I was working at a place called Truffles. So there be a guy. Well, I was cooking. So other than at night when we open, all of my hours, like when I came in to do prep or whatever, in the mornings and before we open, there's a buttload of people that don't speak English. Like, I'm sitting there at work, not talking, just listening, because I know I can't communicate with them. That was one of the first times I ever felt at a place because of my language in my own country ever. And this is why. As soon as as soon as they realize you don't speak a Spanish, they definitely look at you and almost in some cases treat you different because you know that they're talking about you right in front of you. You just don't know what they're saying. And they'll laugh about it, actually. Whatever. Teach their own. But I was working there. And there's a couple of them that can speak some English. The main guy who actually ran probably the one visa or whatever that everybody that worked there functioned off of. I talked to him. One day it just seemed right. And I called him and I'm like, hey man. He's like, what? I'm like, I don't understand you people. And he'll look at me like with his eyes open. Because when you say you people, I'm definitely putting you in a box. But I was like, I don't understand you people. So he's like, I'm like, you got some of the most beautiful women I have ever seen in my life. You make them not only take care of the kids, you make them go to work, and then prostitute themselves at night. Come on, man. Psh. And I walked away from him. That's just kind of sort of exactly how I am to folks that participate in doing some just not okay stuff, letting it happen around them. They're complicit in the whole thing. So shortly after that, the season was ending, and I got laid off. So between that, knowing that they're talking about me in front of me negatively, I could hear and see and feel that. Makes you feel uncomfortable, so I was cool with leaving anyway. Right? So I ended up meeting like the good ones that don't want to participate in it. I met enough of them and they were talking about me enough in the community. Hilton Head's a small island. The only reason why they knew that I was affiliated with police in one way or another is because the stupid person that leased it to us told other people that he leases to, oh, there's a cop moving here. It'll get better, maybe. Or I don't know what these people think. But next time I worked with immigrants, illegal, was down in, and illegal. Some of them were legal, some of them weren't. I moved back to Ohio. It was 2015. Star Lanes, Columbus, Ohio. I worked with a couple illegal folks down there. And there were bussers. The illegal ones. But they actually out of like 7, 8 of them, I would say 3 of them were actually good employees. They did their job. The other ones knew the game. They're just like, nah. We get paid the same to stand here and act like we don't see what we're supposed to do. I had one of them tell me don't understand. You can always tell the ones that aren't going to do good. Me don't understand. So, I worked at Star Lanes with some in 2015. Went all these years without working with an immigrant that I could assume is illegal because they can't speak English. To now. And now, I believe that there is opportunity for me to be able to work with them again. I could go work at Tyson. But for real though, most of the migrants that I've worked with, they told me their experience to get over here. I've heard their issues too. And just because some of them have a bad work ethic doesn't mean they're bad people. Most of these migrants, as I was watching hours of footage of them coming around the border. It's not through, it's around. None of them look like killers that want to be terrorists and destroy our country. Most of these folks just want to come to a place where they and their kids, if they have kids, can work and maybe have a future compared to where they're coming from. Now, I'll ask anybody. I have several times, and most folks don't like to hear it, but what would it take for you to gather up everything you think is important enough that you could carry and make a horrific trudge like what they did? What would it take for you to do that? You better start asking yourself, because it's coming soon to a town near you. Only way to fix this issue is to have level-headed people come up with logical solutions to actually fix the problem. And just building a wall is not going to fix the problem. Ask Israel. Alright, folks. Good luck to all. Teach your own. Hope you got to learn a little bit about me. By all means, like, share, subscribe, and spread this message. If the Democrats and Republicans aren't going to do it, somebody's got to. Have a great day. Sponsored and paid for by Nathan Russell, fighting for an independent Ohio.